Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get on with part 2 of the podcast. Thank you very much. Please retake your seats. They've travelled a long way to be here tonight to share in the celebration of the cup win. Between them, they made more than 200 appearances for Newcastle United, playing a huge part in what was arguably the one rare enjoyable season under Mike Ashley's ownership as Newcastle United finished 5th. We've got one man affectionately known as Perchino, and the other will probably answer you if you call him over the wall. Please put your hands together for Ryan Taylor and James Perch. Thank you very much for coming along this evening. How are you guys doing after the cup win?
Absolute pleasure, by the way, to be here. Love coming up here. Haven't missed a home game for quite a while, but any occasion to come up and have a beer up here is always nice. Doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, I'll even go to Dortmund for one. It doesn't matter where it is. But yeah, no, absolute pleasure. Cup final, Jesus. Still haven't got over it, even though obviously, listen, this football club that I love beat my boyhood team, but I wanted them to. Simple as that.
I think it's maybe important if you just explain to our guests, Ryan, that this isn't just a former club for you. As you say, you haven't missed a home game in many, many months. You do a bit of work for the club. I pumped you in Dortmund and in Wembley. Like, this is more than just a former club for you.
Yeah, and anyone thinking, I'm not an alcoholic, by the way. I just love watching this football club. I mean, it gave me some unbelievable memories. In life, not just in football, just in life itself. I feel like I owe a hell of a lot to this city, and so many people stood by me in so many dark days at this football club that coming back makes it so much easier. And when I was asked to be an ambassador of the football club, I look and you've got Bobby Moncur, absolute legend, Bez, just another. Well, Bez is Bez, isn't he? Yeah, I can't go in too deep on Bez, but Bez is Bez. Listen, Bez is great. I love working with Bez, but and then to be asked and the players who've walked through this football club, it's an absolute honour. So yeah, the relationship I have with the football club isn't just about football, it's so much off the pitch as well. And
for you, James, as well, you've been back at the club doing a few games, hosting as well. What does this club mean to you?
Yeah, it means a hell of a lot. You know, it's a club I first came to when I left Forest. And I love playing here, you know, it's different. Until you play here and understand it, it's hard to explain to people. And I always tell people that the Newcastle fans just love someone who gives their all and wears a heart on the sleeve, a bit like Joe Linton does. He had a tough time, tough start, and look at him now. He's probably man of the match on Sunday last week. So I love this place. I've been up a couple of times, a bit far from home from me, but every time I've come up, I have a great time.
Although you didn't have such a great time this morning on the golf course, did you?
God. Did you text him and tell him?
No, but he asked me before that we just drove up.
I can't believe you've said that.
He asked me before, right? Me and James have been playing golf today, right? So James gets a hell of a lot of shots on me. Sorry, Perch, you had to put that one in. But we're going down the last, and it's all square. He's on a shot, I'm not. So he hits his drive way past mine, because he can't hit it far. He sometimes doesn't know where it's going, but he hits it way past mine. And then I put mine on the green, and then I stood next to Perch. You could probably feel me breathing on him. I was that
close.
He
was a bit too close to me.
and we just both said it's the biggest shot of the day, this. And guess where it went? Fucking shanked it straight in the trees. And that was, it was absolutely, well, comical, should we say. So he got the first round when we went in. It took him a hell of a long time to get that first round, let me tell you.
Is this where you say that it was a fluke? He doesn't usually get one over you on you.
No, he does. He's a better player than me at golf. But I love challenging him, and I've beat him a lot of times. He's beat me a few, but just so happens that he beat me today.
Getting back to the final then, for both you guys, what was it like when that final whistle went and Newcastle had ended the drought?
Do you know what? I was at Wembley, right, and I seen so many emotions in the stand from where I was. I had the privilege of going with a great view, and I got to just see people just below me who were sat in sort of the bottom tier at Wembley, and I seen dads, lads, granddads, and I've never seen people hugging, and even when the first goal went in, let alone the second, it was just to go to Wembley and see a goal, and the team that means so much to them. And I could just see it spilling out as the game went on. And as soon as he put that board up for injury time, I even felt, I mean, I was delighted, like, because I'm not bothered if Liverpool don't win the League Cup. It really doesn't bother me. But it meant so much to this football club just to win that League Cup. That you've seen the scenes back at Box Park. I dread to think what they were like back in the Stack. I really do. Or in town in general. They probably haven't stopped. They probably kicked on in the darts anyway tonight. God help them. And I've never seen that, and that wouldn't have happened with Liverpool. I just know it wouldn't. They would have got back on the bus, and a lot of Liverpool fans would have headed back up north. And but I feel like now this club, if they want to be that big club, we have to kind of, enjoy this bit. But we have to now, when we win the next one, it's got to start feeling normal, because we'll always celebrate wins, obviously, but once you become a big club, the trophies it's a normal thing to do, and the more we win, the obviously we still drink and we still celebrate and all that, but I think that was just that monkey off the back, if I'm being honest, and everyone constantly seen 70 years, but how nice it's just to see no years, you know.
And obviously you mentioned there the monkey on the back. As players who have been in that dressing room, you'll have been aware of how long it had been when you were playing a decade ago. Was that sort of record ever in your mind when you were in the dressing room and you were going on cup runs like that?
No, not really. We didn't really think about it too much when you're going into games, but we never had a good cup run, did we, while I was here? I can remember getting beat by Stevenage away, so... Was you there? Yeah. It was a terrible day. Get another drink down, yeah. So we never had a good cup run, so we never got that feeling of having a little bit of success in the cup. We know how much it meant to the fans, of course, but we just, for whatever reason, we just couldn't do it. And it's great to see these boys now do it, and like Tail said, to see all the emotions in the stand at Wembley and how much it means to everyone up here in Newcastle. It's just going to be a massive part of the future and the current situation at Newcastle now.
And obviously now that you've seen the scenes, you've obviously both spoke about them, you've seen them in the Stack, you've seen them at Wembley, is there any sort of element of frustration that you were in a dressing room that was never going to fight for cups and titles and never go for silverware?
Do you know what? It wasn't even to do with the dressing room, it was ownership. And I'll say that openly, ownership weren't bothered, weren't worried about winning trophies. It was just mainly staying in the league, and at the end of the day, I think it's clear to see that he was in it as a businessman. It wasn't about making legacies or nothing like that. It was just how much per year can he make, and how many signs can he stick around the stadium, basically. It was, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? And we're blessed now that we've got an ownership who care. But I seen the cup run this year. We were due to play Wimbledon away, got postponed and then we played here. But we had a lot of home ties, so sometimes you've got to get that little bit of luck as well. And every team that did come here, we put to the sword, because we played some top teams, by the way. I think, did we knock out the top three or did we beat all the top three? So it wasn't a fluke, but when you play your strongest team, which when we played, we were always, we were playing reserve team players, and say me or him hadn't had the game for a little while, and we were in, so they didn't care about winning. And that's what it was.
Well, in that moment, like as a player, do you just kind of keep your mouth shut and say, "Look, it's not my place to say anything," or do you get like in a leadership group, and do you have the want to kind of push the owners and say, "Well, why aren't we going for the FA Cup or the League Cup?" Or do you just kind of say, "It's not really my place to say anything"?
Well, I didn't have an helicopter fast enough to catch him, because And even when he come to training ground, he'd just blow our balls and cones away on his helicopter. Come and say hello. Do you know what? It's hard as a player because you can't speak up, because at the end of the day you're there to do a job. You walk across that white line to win. Simple as that. But if the opposition have got far too much quality than you, then sometimes there's nothing you can do.
And on to Eddie Howe, James. He's done a superb job. What have you made of the job he's done, taking Newcastle from looking like going down at the Championship potentially to Champions League and now Cup winners?
I think he's been unbelievable. As soon as he stepped through the door, I think he's been great. He's handled himself well. Him and his assistant Jason Tyndall did a great job at Bournemouth, and they just carried it on at Newcastle. There was times when people said, "Oh, Eddie Howe's under pressure because they're not in the Champions League spot all season," but I think that's a load of rubbish. I think you have to look at the job he's done with the resources that he's got. He hasn't been able to go and spend 200, 300 million pounds. He's built a good squad who compete and who work hard for each other, and he's getting his rewards now. And I'm just glad for him and his staff and the players that they have got that reward, because they deserve it and they've worked so hard for it. And you can see how much it means to him, especially when that final whistle went. You can see the emotion pouring out of him, and he's worked so hard all his career just to get that moment.
I mean, I'm not sure Mike Ashley would have coughed up for a manager as good as Eddie Howe back in the day, but how much would you have liked to play under a manager like Howe at Newcastle?
What was wrong with our managers? I mean, we had Big Al for six games, wasn't it? You know? Listen, the man's he's a modern day genius, because he's a proper studier. I mean, I know players who worked with him at Bournemouth, and you just know now he's probably even more deep now. He's probably, you know, I know he's first in and he's last out every single day, because his dedication is now showing in results, and he's got the trust of every single player in that squad, because them players know what role they have as soon as they get put on that pitch. And it is all about trust and relationships. And if you have a manager who, you know, again, you know, Jonas Gutierrez fell out with Alan Pardew, how are you meant to play him? And he wants to run around for him, and it's all over the place. And whereas now the whole club it seems really settled, and that's why the consistency of the team, everyone wants to play for each other, everyone wants to play for the manager. But the thing is, we've actually got top quality now. We've got top international players. And we're very blessed.
How important is it, James, that first trophy has now been won? You know, people are talking about the FA Cup that Alex won, I think it was 1989 or 1990, and then the Man City FA Cup as well as the first trophy to kind of kickstart the success that those two teams had. Do you think Newcastle can now follow those paths of success after getting this monkey off their back?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was there 2 years ago when we got beat against United, and I think this year felt a little bit different. I think 2 years ago it was a little bit of an audition. Go down there, we've not been there for a while, or take it in, or have a good laugh and a good fun down there. But this year was different. It's like we were meant to be there. So now they've got the monkey off the back and they've won that trophy. The players feel that bit of success. Then that's just going to breed confidence going into next season when they play the FA Cup. They know they can win now. They know they can beat top teams at Wembley. They won't have that fear going down there and thinking, "Oh, we've been beat here before." They've won there. They're experienced winners now. So next year I'm excited. The transfer window is going to be massive. The recruitment side of it's huge. But the players themselves will have that confidence going into cup competitions, knowing that they can beat the best and can go all the way. In
terms of something James just said there about it kind of maybe feeling like we belong this time, obviously you were at the Box Park, and I know loads of special guests alongside you as well, and it was very boisterous, but me and Alan both said walking up Wembley Way, it didn't feel like 2 years ago. It was a bit more calm, it was a bit more, like we belonged. I don't know, what did you think about the build-up to the final?
Maybe we just had more pubs than Liverpool, and that's where we were hiding. Listen, it went quiet, let me tell you. Box Park, anyone in Box Park? Anyone? Yeah.
Sharon was...
Yeah. You know, obviously, I then walk up Wembley Way, and there was I know obviously they're on the other side, but like 2 years ago, it was minimal Liverpool fans, like it was 2 years ago, but It did just feel a little bit different. And I've seen the scenes from Covent Garden. Jesus Christ, glad I stayed out of there. Because I might not have made Box Park, that's why. So yeah, I think they're always going to enjoy moments like that. But Perchy's right. It's like there wasn't like we're here for a day out. There's no point going to Wembley no more. We knew that losing feeling against United, and that's a hell of a lot worse than beating my boyhood club. That's for sure. Getting beat by Man United. But we showed up on the big stage, and that's all that matters. And we showed up without a whole left-hand side.
Certainly so.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously spoke about it in the last segment. You will have heard us on the stage being very, very confident about it. Are you sharing the confidence about what it can do in the short term in terms of qualifying for the Champions League?
Yeah, I think the boost it will give the lads now, going on to the last 8, 9, 10 games of the season is massive. Because let's be honest, Champions League is where the top clubs want to be. The top players want to be in the Champions League. The manager wants to manage in the Champions League, so that's where we want to aim to. But these next few games are massive. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of celebrations. The lads would have been out and drinking and getting pissed and stuff. But they will know, and Eddie will have them know that this season's not over yet. There's still a lot to play for, and qualifying for the Champions League could be the difference between getting a top class player or getting a mediocre player that's good enough just for conference league.
And is this the challenge of the mindset within the dressing room, that it doesn't tail off from here, it actually does go up and we get the Champions League qualification?
Yeah, there's no way. We all like to know Eddie Howe and the way he works. And there's no way Eddie Howe for the last however many games, 8 games is there left. If there's 8 games left, there's no chance Eddie Howe is going to let them boys slack off, because I'll tell you something, if anyone slacks off, there's another one just waiting in the wings anyway. But he would have told them to enjoy it, no doubt about it, to win a trophy. And then you'll probably see on the weekend what it's done to the city once they do the parade and everything else. But it's back to business, and there's no two ways about it. You know, you've got to basically go in that Brentford game like you've got to tell them Champions League football is what this club wants, and if we can get 4th or 5th, then it might be key to keeping hold of our big stars.
Yeah. What are you expecting for Saturday then? It's going to be a bit boisterous.
Oh, at the parade, yeah. Yeah, a couple of Ribenas and a couple of squashes and, yeah, couple of, yeah. But, no. But, do you know what? It's well deserved, because it's been a hell of a long time. There's granddads out there, dads and sons who will share the moment. And do you know what? Good on them. And honestly, go and enjoy it. Enjoy every second of it, because it's been a long time coming.
I'm expecting to see Bez with his shirt off, twirling it around on stage and all that. He'll be enjoying it.
Listen, Bez could be absolutely stark as naked if you're not careful. But yeah, listen, we're as former players delighted, but when you see scenes like this, it kind of makes you realise if only we could have done that. Jesus, what it could have done.
Was there a moment for both of you on when the final took place that you thought Newcastle United are going to win this, or was it the final whistle, or was there a moment in the game where you thought, yeah, this is going to be their day?
I was listening to it on the radio because I was in the car. I was working, so I raced back from. I was watching Man City, so I raced back and I was listening to it on the radio. Got back for the last 20 minutes, and the time when I thought we'd won it was when Callum Wilson got put through, and I was thinking, is he going to go for goal or is he going to go to the corner flag? And he ran straight to the corner flag, and then I thought, that's it, it's done. And he made the right decision, obviously. There would have been people screaming out there, go and get a third. But the winning mentality of you as a player, take it to the corner and run the clock down. And there's nothing more frustrating than when a team's winning 2-0 and the striker goes into the corner flag. You just want to go and boot him, don't you?
Yeah. No, I knew. You know what? I had that feeling before the game anyway. I mean, anyone reads, probably doesn't, but anyone reads anything I say or listens to anything I say. I called 2-1, but I thought Harvey Barnes was going to be the main, the one who scores the winner. But do you know what? When it went to 2-0, I just knew Liverpool weren't going to come back. And then in extra time, I remember Liverpool's back three of Andy Robertson. I can't remember. Harvey Elliott right back. I'm thinking Liverpool were all over the place. And that's when I just thought, these are in desperation mode here. Van Dijk was up front. That VAR, Jesus Christ, that took a hell of a long time. And I always had faith in Eddie and the lads, but that last 8 to 10 minutes was quite painful. But I always had faith in the fact that they would beat Liverpool.
And when people say this has got to be the first of many, this has got to be the beginning, giving a bit of an insight into the dressing room, will the players be hearing that and believing that this can be the first of many?
Why not? I think obviously at the end of this season we're allowed to start spending some money, so the Premier League should just be aware. Simple as that. They've won a domestic trophy now, and teams will be on the lookout that Newcastle could be back. Are we back? We'll know come the summer with either who's here, who comes in. But if we can keep them and sign a couple more, then I don't see why next season we shouldn't even be asking and challenging, can we get top 4? It should be an automatic. This squad should really be challenging for the top 4.
Well, take that ambition, won't we, ladies and gents, yeah?
So when you've got the richest owners in the world, why not?
Yeah, it's a good point. Just to move away from the final, Ryan, I want to talk to you about when you joined the club, obviously a long time ago now, swap deal with Charles Nzogbia.
Insomnia.
Yeah. Charles Insomnia, as he's known. Talk to us about that deal. Obviously, why it was Newcastle, why you were so keen to move, and am I right in thinking that it was a deal that was pretty much signed and sealed while you were on the Wigan team bus?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, a lot of people come up to me saying it was because I scored 4 in 4 against Newcastle, but I like to think it wasn't. And listen, I hope that one goal against the Mackhams ends up, that puts away the 4 I scored against, especially on Boxing Day when everyone was dressed up behind a goal at Wigan away, having a night out, like completely filling the whole end, ruining their Christmases. I hope that one goal against Sunderland can as a distant memory for them ones. But yeah, my journey here. I mean, I was playing Aston Villa the next day for Wigan. I was playing. Funny enough, I was playing left wing. Why? That's up to Steve Bruce. Well, it was. He was the manager. Oh no! Listen. I read a hell of a lot of social media, and I'll never ever diss a manager's tactics, because you know what? Football's a very small world. You can have your own opinions, and someone else will have a different opinion. But I was playing left wing against Aston Villa. It was a little bit far from right back, but I was playing left wing, right? So anyway, we'd done all the set plays in the morning, everything else, and then I said to my agent, who was in the training ground, and I just said to him, like, what's going on? Like, I want to go, and I'm down to play tomorrow, so that means I'm gonna play, because sometimes if managers do a little bit of team shape, they're reluctant. That if they know you're going, they won't put you in it, and they won't even put you on the bus. But I'm on the bus anyway, and I'm heading down the M6, and I get to Sandbach, and I rang the agent and said, follow the bus. So anyway, bus pulls into the service station at Sandbach, and it's classy, this, by the way. And then Steve Bruce shouts down, Sheila, you're off. And I was like, sound. And that was it. And then the deal's done. And then I got in my agent's car and we booted up the M6. I don't know how long it took, but I couldn't wait to get up here. And I'd only ever played up here once in the time I had at Wigan, because I had a couple of injuries when I was there. But wow, what a place. And then I come and do you know what? We played Sunderland. I think it was a day or two later. I think when Stephen done that great dive in the box. We won a penalty and we drew 1-1. But yeah, I mean, really classy. Got off the bus on the M6 and scarpered up here.
When you look at your first few months at Newcastle, a bit turbulent because Kinnear was actually the manager, but then you didn't play under him because he got ill. Then it was Hughton, you mentioned Shearer as well, and then relegation followed. Did you have any thoughts of what have I done?
Yeah, 3 and 6 months. I was seeing them off like a good one, wasn't I? Maybe it was me. But no, I looked around the dressing room and obviously I've come from Wigan and people like Jimmy Bullard was my roommate and everything else. I was so happy to get away from him. Because he was absolute carnage, he was. But I come up here and I just see faces who are quite idolised in the world of football and won Premier League medals and played, Real Madrid and stuff like that. But I didn't see what I seen at Wigan, and that was a team spirit, and that was quite worrying. And I was still only fairly young when I come up here, and I came up on my own, and then all of a sudden you're sort of thrown in the deep end, and it was survival mode, and then it kind of hit home once that squad was relegated. Like, what have we done? And then the conversation the next pre-season was, listen, if anyone doesn't want to be here, fuck off, because this club needs to get back up straight away.
How important was it to have that conversation, because it came after the defeat to Leyton Orient in the pre-season? I think it was 6-1.
Yeah, I didn't play, so thank God it wasn't me. Yeah, so you were probably there, but don't blame me. Do you know what? I remember being at home at the time and thinking, oh, glad I wasn't there. Because 6-1 away to Leyton Orient isn't a pre-season friendly. But that was kind of when we knew we got to get shut of some of these here. Because if you want to stay in the Premier League, it's not a problem. And if you feel like you deserve to stay in the Premier League, but if you're not willing to fight in the Championship on a Saturday and a Tuesday for the next 9 months, just do one. And that was the simple conversation that some of the big leaders in the group had. And we did lose a couple, and that's fine. That's people's ambitions, or people left, just like Viduka left, Owen left, things like this. But we needed to. We had to get rid of people like that in order to get back up.
And obviously, we can probably read between the lines about what you would say about Steve Bruce if we did ask you. So I'm going to move away from that and talk about a manager that you will probably want to talk about, and that is the man you're obviously talking about there, in Chris Hughton. Talk about him as a coach, as a manager, what he was like in terms of obviously getting you straight back up to the Premier League.
That Championship season was... do you know what it was? We were, especially at home, we'd see teams turn up, and sometimes we didn't fill it, but there was like 50,000 most weeks and stuff like that. Obviously, getting towards the end of the season when we're going to win the stadium, fill back up again. A little bit different from what it is now. But like, it's no disrespect to Chris because he was a great coach, but because of the people that were in the dressing room that helped Chris, he didn't really have to do a lot. He just had to put a structure in place for us to go and win, and that was just basically, like I said, then there was teams that would come to St James's and just be like, okay, now this is big, innit? And then they'd be 3-0 down, and that was it, game over. And then, but it was the away performances, going to Doncaster, winning 1-0, going to Sheffield United, winning 1-0. These are games that win you the Championship, not the home games, because a lot of home games were comfortable, especially in the second half. But it's the dogged 1-0, 2-1s away from home that get you up. So, but you know what? Chris was an absolute diamond of a man, and he was a great coach. He just had a dressing room that fought for him, which it helps.
And you came into that dressing room in the summer. They tried to sign you, James, in the January as well, and came back in for you, which I guess is a huge vote of confidence for you that they wanted you, and then they came back in for you as well.
Yeah, I wanted to come in the January. Forest wouldn't let me go. I kept banging on the manager's door at the time, saying, "Listen, I want to go to Newcastle. I knew they were going to win the league, so it would have been a promotion for me under my belt." But luckily enough, they came back in the summer, and I joined in the summer, and it was great that they came back in. It's, like you said, a vote of confidence for me, but I wish I'd have come in January.
I mean, 14 years at Forest, you'd come through the ranks and played hundreds of games for them. Was there any hesitation at all at leaving Forest?
Yeah, there was, because I think the first move is always your hardest move. I knew everyone at Forest. I knew the kitchen staff. I knew the people upstairs and the officers. And I'd been there since I was 11 years old. So it was very daunting when I got that phone call saying, right, you're signing for Newcastle now. You've got to go and drive up. Like Tail said, I walked into a dressing room. There was Kevin Nolan, who I'd watched on Match of the Day for years. Joe Barton, Alan Smith, Tails a little bit. I saw him.
Listen, he came. Listen, I didn't like him to start with, and he'll openly tell you.
Tails didn't talk to me for a whole year, did you?
Yeah, but that's if, right, so say if someone comes into your line of work who's trying to take your job, are you going to talk to them? No, simple as that. But once I realised, you know what, he's actually sound, he can play left back and centre half, I started talking to him.
So what was the first conversation then?
Did you sit close to me in the dressing room?
No, I sat opposite. Opposite,
Just staring him out.
Opposite side, yeah. It was literally opposite sides, and he didn't talk to me for a whole season.
I remember I was sandwiched between Williamson and Lovencrans. Not a great sandwich, really, is it? But I can't remember where you was.
I was up near. I was in between Czech, bless him, and Hatem Ben Arfa.
Yeah.
I was the best one out of the three.
But it didn't take long, obviously. But the hard thing was we had Colin Calderwood, and in footballing terms,
Here we go.
Colin Calderwood was like his old man. He loved him, and you just think, like, no matter how I train this week, he's gonna pick Perchy.
No, Colin was my manager at Forest a couple of years before. That's
years.
why. That's the link.
Yeah.
Fair to say, though, James, you didn't get off to the best of starts in Newcastle. 5 yellow cards in your first 5 games. I mean, it's quite the record. I don't think it's ever been broken.
Everyone always says, "Oh, you must." I look at that record with pride. Like, no one's beaten it yet. Honestly, no one's. It's a Premier League record, and no one's took it off me so far. So I look at it with a little bit of pride, and I'm happy I've got it.
I think if Joe Linton was joining now, he would give that a good go to get 5 in the first 5. He would definitely.
I just heard someone say, shows your passion. No, lack of pace.
Hey, I was quick.
I mean, how did you manage it? I mean, was it just you were just kicking everyone for the fun of it? Or?
No, it was literally the gap between the Championship and the Premier League. I was probably, everyone says, oh, you're probably a yard or two off it. I was probably 10 yards off it. And I was hitting people when the ball's gone a couple of minutes. I was just hitting people hard.
Listen, it's dead easy when you're playing against Man United to kick someone, Chelsea to kick someone, so that's why.
It's quite the achievement, and it probably will never ever get broken. Chris Hughton, he didn't last long in the Premier League for Newcastle, and Pardew came in. I mean, first off, James, Hughton's sacking. What was the feeling like in the dressing room when that happened?
Yeah, it was a little bit. I think it was a little bit unjust towards Chris because he did such a great job getting Newcastle back up, and I don't think he was in the worst position in the league when he did get sacked. And everyone loved Chris. Chris was such a lovable bloke, such a nice, polite man. Everyone loved him. The players loved him. So when he did get sacked, it was a bit like, right, who's coming in now? And then Pardew coming in, and I didn't really like Pardew. No, some players did. You liked him, didn't you? He did a lot for you, didn't he? And helped you out and looked after you when you done your knee.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, building relationships with the manager, and everyone's kind of got different relationships with him. I bet you that's not how it is in that dressing room right there. Okay, listen, the lads who aren't playing probably have got a little bit of hard feelings toward Eddie, and that's just normal. Everyone wants to play, but they're all pulling in the right direction. You know, we had so many in our dressing room who didn't like the manager. Then it becomes a problem. Then you're doing it for yourself and your teammates, and then some people probably would have turned a blind eye if the manager's asking them to do certain things. So, but it's just normal. They can't get on with everyone.
I think it's really weird with Pardew for me, and I don't know if the audience will agree, but I think at the time when Pardew left and towards the end it got a little bit toxic, the fans were maybe starting to turn on him. But I think sitting here today, is he maybe looked on a little bit more favourably now that time's passed? I don't know what you think, obviously being in the centre of that. I don't know what you think. Do you still feel the same, or is it just me?
What you mean? You like him more now that...
I don't think I personally like him more, but I think the fan base as a whole maybe has softened a little bit towards Pardew. I don't know, maybe
He did well. He did. Listen, we did all right under him. Finished 5th in the Premier League with not a great squad. So he did do well. There's just a few things that he did that I didn't like, and the Ashley connection. So I can see why the fans didn't like him. A few of the players weren't keen on him. So, but
it must have been strange. I mean, that Liverpool game, obviously Newcastle United won, but then the players came out at full time and said, that was for Chris. And I just wondered, like in the dressing room, it's a bit of a weird dynamic to start with, or was that?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that was just a little bit of a dig, maybe at the owners, for the unworthy sacking and then the replacement, because listen, it was like EastEnders every week when we were here for a little bit of times, especially when that changeover was happening, and as players you got no say in this. Like, people think, what information do you know and why has he done this? Honestly, you just get told what time you go in, what time you train and what time you leave. It's just as simple as that. And then on match days you get told what time you do everything, and you go in and you just all you want to do is win football games and do what you're basically being told. So there was no influence from it. I just feel like the unjust of Chris losing his job because everyone had a really good relationship with him, and then you're seeing a little bit from the overheads of sacking and bringing in his own man, and it just wasn't nice to see.
But how difficult or easy is it when there's so much so much happening off the pitch to just focus on trying to win a football game? Because like you said, it was a bit like a soap opera. Well,
it was, because you didn't know sometimes what was going to happen. As soon as you walked through the training ground doors, it was like, right, what's happening today? Because that was the feeling you got, because it was so topsy-turvy every day. It was just like, Jesus, give us a little bit of leeway and stop making this about you, and let's start winning some games. But because of the unrest everywhere, it's not easy to go out and perform, because there's so much going on that you can't turn a blind eye to everything.
And I think that probably makes it more special that the club did what they did. They finished 5th, as you've just said, James. Probably not the best squad. Talk to us about that side of it, though. Obviously, you go in, it's a soap opera every day, but talk about that season. How good was it? How did you get to finish in the top 5?
Well, we were only talking about it on the way up before, because he was adamant we played Chelsea first game of the season. And, I mean, maybe he's had too many balls and he's looking at by the FA. But we didn't. And he could have played left back, but I got called to play left back by Pards, and then the first game of the season was Arsenal, and we drew 0-0, and then the second game was down the road, and the rest is history. And that kind of kept me in, and we done well. I think it was about 19 games. We kept sort of same goalie, same back four, which is very unheard of, really. And we settled into a little bit like what they've got now, where you kind of know who's going to play. But because we've done so well, and we were always in that top 6, top 4, and just floating around there, and a little bit like, whoa, what's going on here? Because we weren't meant to be there, and we just kept pushing, and that's all we did. Once we realised, actually, do you know what? Let's just keep going. And Pards used to have a bit of a programme where we'd have a target for 6 games. So we'd plan 6 games and be like, right, I want 14 points. And if you hit over, you went like into like, say we went over when we got like 15. We're in +1. So the next one, okay, if we go to the next block and we want 12 points, it's just 11 because we're already +1. So we kind of, I like that because it was hitting targets and stuff like that. And you want to win every game, but you just can't. But that was just a feeling that I got, that I enjoyed playing in that season when we finished 5th.
You had great goal scorers, James, in the team as well. Denver Bar, then in the January or the winter window, they went out and signed Papiss, Cisse. You had talented players like Hatem and Arfa as well. Just talk to us about those attacking players that Newcastle had.
I've always said that Hatem, for me, was the best player I've ever played with. Just natural talent. He could just turn it on a Saturday. We didn't even really care what he did Monday to Friday. As long as he turned up on a Saturday, we knew we had a chance of winning the game. And that's just what he was like. He was so laid back. I loved him. And then Papiss came in, and everything he hit went in. It was like... I was watching him in training, and he was so unorthodox with the way he was shooting, and his technique and stuff. But he just hit the ground running here, and it was like, just let him shoot. Like the Chelsea goal, the one at the goal against Villa at home, I think his debut. Everything he hit just went in, and it was like he just went for a real purple patch. And like I said, Demba Ba as well. I think he got his nose pushed out of joint a little bit when Papiss came and Demba had to go on the left. So it wasn't all flower and roses. It was a little bit. Pards had to deal with that because Papiss was on fire, and he had to almost shun Demba a little bit and keep him happy on the left.
Did you, as fans, ever hear whispers of any voodoo spells getting put on Demba Ba from Papiss Cisse?
No,
No?
It was on Papiss from Demba.
Okay, so from Demba
Demba to Papiss.
because he come in and basically took the limelight, and they played up front together in the same country and everything else. They believe in all this voodoo stuff and all that. One of them, put a spell on the other one just because he was scoring too many and he took his goals off him. It was fucking weird.
They didn't get on, did they?
No, they barely ever spoke to each other. Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
and they played
Honestly,
with each other for the countries, and obviously they came to Newcastle and they were the same, but they didn't really get on, did
No,
they?
you would think, wouldn't you? Like he'd come here and they'd be like, quite pally, best mates, but like.
It was
They
Papiss
wouldn't
and
really-
Czech, wasn't it? Papiss and Czech were tight.
Yeah,
And then Demba was with like.
They wouldn't
Cabs
spend a hell
and-
of a lot of time with each other, would they?
No,
But
no.
I think again, it's like if someone's coming to your workplace and you've been the main man, and someone keeps scoring worldies for fun. Listen, I'll try a voodoo spell.
Did you try that on me?
I done it on the 18th today.
I was going to ask you how you kind of went up against Hatem Ben Arfa then in training, but it just appears like you didn't have to because you just didn't do it during the week.
No, he didn't really do what you saw and what we saw on the Saturday. We didn't really see that in training, did we? He was a bit more chilled out, a bit more laid back, didn't really put the effort in, a bit lazy, if you like. But we knew as players and the manager knew as staff that if he turned up on a Saturday, you've got a hell of a chance of winning the game. And he did that so many times for us for every Saturday for Newcastle.
And he was such an enigma on the pitch, but I'm really fascinated to know what he was like outside the dressing room when he took him off the pitch. Was he just as chilled outside of football as well?
Well, you sat next to him.
I sat next to him. I loved him. I got on really well with him. He was just a nice guy. Like, you think he's a superstar because you're going to watch him on Saturday and stuff, and he wasn't like that at all. He was just really chilled, and he'd go out in town with us and drink, and even though he was a Muslim, he drank. He'd drink, wouldn't he? He would, wouldn't he?
I think one pre-season he come back and had too many drinks.
But he was such a nice guy. I loved that time. I did. I thought he was brilliant.
And so many other great characters in that dressing room as well. Talk to us about Chick Tiote, obviously no longer with us, but I often think about how much he'd be worth in today's game because he was such a bargain for Newcastle at the time. I think 3.5 million or something like that. But he was just such a good defensive midfielder.
Do you know what he was, right? And he was an absolute diamond. He was such a lovely fella. But I just remember our first couple of training sessions because I used to love just getting in the middle and playing centre mid in like small sided games and stuff. And he came and honestly he would boot you. And the scouse would come out in me then. No chance he's getting away with that. And I thought, all right, I'm going to get him back. But you know, when I got him back, it still ate me. and he, do you know what? He played like he trained as well. And he trained like he played. He was no different. But what you got when you went into the gym, you got smiles, you just got affection off him. And I remember asking him, because he used to play number 9 for Ivory Coast, which was really weird. Be him, obviously getting the number 9 shirt, and I remember speaking to him and asking him for one of his country shirts, and I've still got it to the day. And every time I get the shirts out of me, but my boys love looking at them. That's one I fondly remember, and I'll always cherish it. Yeah.
For you, James, what was he like?
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was so infectious. The way he smiled and the energy that he brought to the dressing room. And the way he played on the pitch was exactly how he was in training. Like Teo said, he trained how he played, and he was so aggressive, and he had so much quality. And like you said, how much would it be worth in today's market? I'm saying 50, 60, 70 million pounds, because at one stage he was the best defensive midfielder in the league.
Yeah.
You obviously had such a good group at that time and obviously helped you get to fifth. And take us inside that dressing room then, when you go from that fantastic season, you're in Europe, you're on a high, and Mike Ashley strikes again. You sign one player, Vernonita, another very versatile, good player, but then that's it. What does that do to the dressing room?
That was the most frustrating thing for us as players. We finished fifth and you've put in all that blood and sweat and tears into the season before, and then you sign one player, you're like you said before, if you're not signing players and moving forward, you're going backwards. And that's what happened to us. It was a great chance to go and kick on then. And Mike kept his money in his pocket and didn't invest.
But we didn't have the squad then to compete in both. And
No.
that was all.
But he could have made it bigger. He could have made it bigger and better.
Yeah, of course. On the selfish point, you can't just... You don't really want to see too many people come in, because you end up not talking to them for a year if you want to come and play in your position. But you just knew the squad then weren't going to cope with every cup competition and Europa League and league. And I think that, a couple of games in at Atromitos, I was out for the whole season. So there's another player down. So bring one in, I was then out for the whole season. So we kind of had the same squad.
And I think you said before you didn't really ever bump into Mike Ashley. But why do you think he got it so wrong? Because a lot of people have said over the last kind of week or so, do you think he was sitting there watching the final and thinking, yeah, maybe I did make a mistake?
I just think he's just a businessman. He's not, his interest isn't on the pitch. And I always said, if he was in charge of the club that I was supporting as a kid, I would have hated it. And there's no difference with any of you. If he was Liverpool owner when I was a kid, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. And now you've enjoyed it. I mean, look at all these fellas, these all had hair before Mike Ashley come in. But it was just wrong club for him. It was, because you can't get off lightly. And if you're not seen to move the club in the right direction, by God, run for the hills and get in your helicopter and do one.
Newcastle United that season, after qualifying for fifth, got the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup, but finished just 5 points above the drop. I guess that shows, James, that the squad was really stretched and couldn't handle everything the season had thrown at them.
Yeah, it was so hard. The squad just wasn't big enough, and it didn't have enough quality in it. And you see when teams go into European competitions now, like a Villa or the other teams that have just got in for the first, like Newcastle did for the first time in the Champions League, they struggled a little bit because the squad depth wasn't there. We was playing Thursday night in Russia, getting back early hours on a Friday morning, maybe coming in the afternoon, doing a little cool down or something, and then playing again on the Sunday. So it was a quick turnaround. And I always said when we struggled that year, there's nothing worse playing on a Sunday, watching the teams you're up against on a Saturday. So it's like Wigan 08, Chelsea are going to win, and then Wigan will go and win. And then you've got to then go and beat West Brom at home on the Sunday. It was just that extra pressure that we couldn't cope with.
But still some great nights in that European
some
adventure,
brilliant nights.
And
Yeah, we had some great days with Bordeaux away and Bruges and Benfica and Atromitos.
Atromitos away was my only memory. Scored in Greece.
Oh yeah, he scored, didn't he?
I did score.
How tough was it to be injured and miss out on that adventure?
Andrew, it was painful, mate. Trust me.
He still came though, didn't he? He still came to the away trips.
No, that's why I had a good relationship with Pards, because any normal manager who has a player out for the whole season forgets them, and it's like, listen, you're no use to me. I'll keep an eye on you with the physios, but I'll see you when you're fit. That's what some managers will do to you. And that's why I have a good relationship with Pards, because he never left me from going with the team. He asked me if I'd go out scouting to go and watch teams and put a little report on his desk and things like that. So I still felt like I was part of it. And I didn't go to some of the games that he's saying that he rushes away, but I remember going to Benfica, but it was the whole season for me, because I started it okay. And we played against the Traumatos. I got the equaliser away, and we drew 1-1. And we were always going to beat them at home. We just were. And I know it was only 1-0, but I thought, right, okay, let's kick on again, because I've just signed a new deal. We finished 5th last season, and like, can I really push on now? Because I had the confidence and everything else, and then all of a sudden you rupture your ACL, and it's a complete nightmare. Yeah.
And James, obviously you left the club the summer after. It looked at one point like you were going to sign a new deal. What sort of happened then? How did your exit come about?
Yeah, I was playing and I was doing okay in the team, and Pardew pulled me into his office and said, right, we're going to offer you a new deal. And I was like, yeah, fine. I wasn't asking for one, or I wasn't begging for one or anything. I was just playing and I was enjoying it. And then a couple of weeks later, he pulled me in again and said, we're just going to get the January transfer window out of the way before we sort you out. I said, yeah, fine. Like, I was so chilled about it. And then I think Musa came in that window, and Hedora.
Signed all the Frenchmen.
All the French boys came in, and it was probably like in mid-February, he pulled me and said, we're not going to give you a contract now. And I was like, okay, fine. And that was it. And that's pretty much how it came to an end. And I still carried on playing for the club till the end of the season. And I remember my agent rang me and said, Wigan want to sign you. And I said, yeah, let's go. And that was it. And it was so sad, because I enjoyed so many, 3 years here. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to the staff or the kit man or the boys, really. And I remember being in a hotel in Wigan, and my phone rang, and it was Pardew, and I didn't answer it. I didn't answer it. And he left me a voicemail, and he said, "Oh, Perch, I just wanted to say thank you for all that you did for the club, and you played in every position, and you did so well for me, and this, that, the other. If you want to give me a call back, give me a call back." I've not spoken to him since.
Did it hurt even more because of the start you had? And like it had, as we said, didn't go particularly well, to then playing as regular as you did, and then just that was it. It was done and dusted.
Yeah, it's more the fact that it just came to such an abrupt end that I didn't really see it. I did see it coming a little bit, but I didn't want it to finish. I didn't want it to end. But when I realised that they weren't going to offer me a new deal, I kind of guessed that Pardew and Ashley, that if I was to stay, I had another year on my contract as well, so I just walked away from it, because I kind of knew that next year would have been me being the 19th man, or playing all the games in the reserves, or Pardew not treating me right, or whatever. So I just left, and it was sad because I had such an affection with the staff and the players and the supporters. I just never got a chance to say bye, and that's what upset me the most, that I didn't get to see anybody. I didn't think I saw anybody. I just left, and it was mad, really.
That was going to be my next question, because you left, and obviously you were so admired by the fan base. You still are. I mean, you've came here tonight, mob for photos. You're still here. People talking about Perchino. Does that make it in any way easier because you know you're leaving on a high, or are you still thinking, well, I've got more left to give here?
I thought I had more to give. I thought I could have been here another 2 or 3 years. I would have given my all. But it was just it was weird how it ended. Honestly, I can't explain it. I was in a hotel room in Wigan when I got the phone call from Pardew saying thanks and all that. It was just happened so quick that I didn't even really have time to think, and didn't have time to go and see anybody, or I didn't think I picked up my boots or my shin pads. I just almost got kicked out the door, and it was a shame.
Before we talk to Ryan about the goals that you scored for Newcastle United, because you seem to score spectacular goals, just another shout out to Lumo for sponsoring the event. Hashtag love Lumo there, and you can see where they connect. Edinburgh, Morpeth, Newcastle, Stevenage and London. They are Newcastle's greenest train operator, connecting the city with Edinburgh and London, and proudly celebrating with the club and fans this evening. So thank you to them. Ryan, I mean, I could ask you to pick your favourite goal, but I guess you're going to say the one against Sunderland. So we'll start there. Just talk us through it. Did you know the moment you hit that ball into the back of the net what it would mean for the rest of time?
How did you guess? Listen, it was my first derby, and I kind of never knew what it would mean to be the hero. I just went into it completely blind, thinking, let's beat these. Like, it's so good to beat these. And then to be sort of the match winner, it kind of didn't really sink in, I didn't realise how much it meant to the public and the fans and everyone related to the club for weeks, because every day would go by and it'd sink in a little bit more, and be like, actually, do you know what? I've lived your dream, scoring one over there against them, for obviously, I was known to score free kicks and stuff like that, but to actually, all them years and years of practice to actually do it on a stage like that, albeit Mignolet give me half the goal to aim at. It was a special moment, and it was one of them, when it leaves your boot, I hate saying this, but my first goal against Newcastle was very, very similar for Wigan, against Shea Given. And the moments that you train for, daily, weekly, yearly, everything, it's all worth it when something like that does finally come off.
And am I right in thinking, was your dad in the crowd?
Yeah, my dad had to get on one of the buses to the stadium, as we have to get on now. And I was there for last year's FA Cup. I was on one of the buses, because you're not obviously allowed in any other way. It was great walking past them, I must admit. It was great. It was even better walking past them and with a few free ales in you. But yeah, it was. My dad was there. A younger brother was there. Again, their first derby, being two, and what a moment, because obviously back then, I say back then like it was about 100 years ago, but just back then we were allowed to sit behind the goal, and obviously now we're up in the the top ends and stuff, so right behind the goal, and I can only imagine what it would feel like as a father to see your son do something like that, and to see obviously take in the moment, but then have a little look around to see what's just happened, and probably one of them pinch yourself moments. And I think once he got wind once the bus got wind of the fact that my dad was on the bus, they absolutely peppered him with like questions, and he was driving home, and he's not a big drinker anyway, but they were offering him everything, alcoholic wise. And it's just mad that it's the last time we ever beat them in the Premier League, and it's quite sad, but you know what? Keep them down there. But you know what? I do miss Derby Day. I really do miss Derby Day, because I think now if they come up, it's fucking 6 points, and that's it. But I do miss Derby Day, and I loved the FA Cup last year. And I mean, I remember standing there last year, and I just turned around, and as I turned around, there was 2 or 3 fellas dressed as seagulls, and I was like, this is class, this.
And it obviously got you your very own Newcastle chant. You're in Newcastle photo now. What does that feel like when you hear that, when you go back to the ground?
No, it's class. I love it, because I walk around the stadium and I see dads tell their lads who are, way too young to remember. But it's great because YouTube's there now. You can have a little look on YouTube, and I love the one when someone shouts, "You're gonna miss," and it goes in and stuff like that. I think we might have all seen that one. Someone shouts in, as the video, and "You're gonna miss," and obviously then they probably sit back down again. But the fact that the fact that when I go to the stadium now, no one sort of says, "All right, Ryan," it's just, "Oh, well." But what really winds me up is when Kieran scores a free kick, you fucking sing his song and you change my name. That really does my head in. But he's got a hell of a right peg, so I don't mind.
And some other fantastic strikes, the one against Everton, for example. I mean, you did seem to just score spectacular goals.
Yeah. That's because I was never in the fucking box. I was never in the box to score a tap in. And I didn't mind a shot. I was known to score from dead balls. But, like you say, that one, because that was in the same season when we finished 5th. And when the whole Gallagher tells you to shoot, you just shoot. And again, it come off, but, you know, for a boyhood Liverpool fan as a kid, to score against Everton and again to be the winner, it was proven to be a great season.
James, you scored against Manchester United at Old Trafford. That was your only goal for Newcastle. I mean, you scored the one. What did it feel like, though, to score for Newcastle? And I guess at Old Trafford, even though we lost, still a happy memory?
Yeah, great memory. Probably one of the best memories I've had in the Newcastle shirt, apart from probably playing Benfica away in the Europa League. I grew up, my brother was a Liverpool fan, my older brother, so I just naturally went against him and went Man U. So then when I scored against him, it was like, yeah, I've got one over on my brother there. And to be honest, when we started playing Man U, I couldn't stand them. Honestly, I couldn't stand them. All the players, I used to love Giggsy and Rio Ferdinand and all that. And then when we beat them, they just wouldn't shake your hand, they just walk off, and it's like they were entitled to win. And if you dare beat them, then they just walk off and not say anything to you. It baffled me, and I can't stand them now.
That was but that was very similar to Arsenal. Honestly, I've never played a game of football against so many arrogant people who don't like one, physical contact, and sometimes you've got to get physical because they're quicker than you. But and that's hence his yellow cards and all that. But if you're ever on the winning team against these, it was like you were just sort of frowned upon. Oh, you beat us.
It's the same now, isn't it?
So away you go.
To a degree, you know, the Arsenal games in the League Cup, and as Gibbo mentioned, you know, every time we beat a really good side, it's because they didn't turn up. And it's especially Arsenal, they seem to have that kind of, they seem to get easily rattled by Newcastle these days.
Do you know what? I didn't mind when we used to play and Henry, I'd allow him to have that arrogance because he was top draw. But all the others were like kind of followed in his footsteps, and that's what gives me great pleasure now. And obviously that semi-final the other week, did I celebrate that one? But you know what? Because you know what it's like, and it's dead easy when Arteta starts blaming balls and all sorts. That you know what? It's not. It's just 11 v 11, and you know what? We're just better than you. It's simple as that.
Certainly is. James, I want to ask you about Peperina and I was going to say a headbutt, but we watched it back in the office today, and I have to say, it wasn't your best. You're not going to win an Oscar for it, but it was definitely a red card. So do you want to just set the scene for our guests and what we're talking about?
I remember Pardew telling us before the game, if a corner comes in and Peperina comes and catches it, he will look to break quickly and kick it quickly. So whoever's closest, just
stick a leg out.
Yeah, trip him up or put him off his stride or whatever. So I did that, and then he came and fucking landed one on me.
Have you watched it back recently?
He's still got the scar now, haven't you, mate?
No, he did go to headbutt me. And I'll be honest now, it's the only time in football that I probably regret. I do regret going down too easy, because I see people do it now and I think, get up, he hasn't touched you. So I'll put it out there now. I probably do regret going down too easily. But these days they've got VAR, so you would be able to go back and see it, and you probably would have got sent off anyway. Back then, if I didn't make a meal of it, he wouldn't have got sent off, and we wouldn't have saw Jose Enrique in goal, would we?
And Newcastle won that game 2-0 back in 2012. And yes, Enrique ended up having to go in goal for the last few minutes because they'd used all their subs. Chaps, just explain to us then what Newcastle United means to you after all these years since you retired and left the club. What does it mean to you, the club?
Do you know what? I'm a fully fledged fan. It's simple as that. It's dead easy when you play to fall out of love with the team you support. You'll always have that little soft spot. You always support them because it's your boyhood club. But when a club treats you the way they treated me, and the fact that my 2 kids were born here and I got married up here, I have far more greater life moments here than I do at Liverpool. And I don't owe Liverpool Football Club nothing. I was just born into it. But the minute you just get attached here, it's dead easy to grasp it. And And when I go to match days now, and we've had a few rocky moments this year with games and stuff like that, but you get to see everything. You get to see the passion, and you get to see it for your own eyes what you were once as a player, and it's dead easy. But it's dead easy because there's so much confidence and joy around the city now. Do you know what I mean? And it was hard back then, like sort of once I left, because I always was like, well, fucking hell, like the people who let me go, and I'll always have something in the back of my mind which tells me I'll not bitter about it, but the way they let me go, and Jonah's it's well publicised.
Phone call.
Yeah, of course it wasn't professional at all, but that's got nothing to do with what I get to see now, and that's be a fan. That's just inside the club, so it's dead easy just to be a fan now. And the only time I've been into Anfield this year was when we played Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, when we didn't really turn up. So it tells you kind of where I am right now. I don't miss a home game. My kids would rather drive 3.5 hours than go 20 minutes to Anfield. That's how much it's gripped my family.
For you, James?
Yeah, I'm the same really. My kids have got Newcastle kits, got Newcastle scarves in the room. My oldest boy's called Geordie. And the biggest compliment I can give to the club is me and my wife always said, if we could move Newcastle closer to home, we'd live in Newcastle, because we loved it up here.
That's a beautiful comment. And just finally, what's your one lasting memory of playing for Newcastle? I suppose your answer might be the one down the road. Is that what it is?
No, it was in the Carling Cup against Accrington when I scored there.
Beautiful goal.
Yeah. Listen, forever a day, and I'll take it with me for the rest of my life. It's no one can ever take it away from me. Is the fact that I represented you guys and I scored the winner against that load of shies and down the road.
For you, James?
My lasting memory would have been the European journey that we had. I think all the fans loved it. I loved it as a player. It's only now when you retire and look back that what you actually did. I think you just almost take it for granted when you're in that bubble. But I look back now and think, wow, we had some good times. And when I come back and watch the team like I've done this year, I sit there and think, I can't believe I used to play on that pitch in this stadium, and my kids can't believe it. I have to, like Tail said, I have to show them on YouTube that I did actually play for Newcastle.
But lads, it goes like that. I promise you. Like, when you're here, you don't think it, but now, like you said, when we come back, it's hard to remember, even though. But it just went like that.
And on the stadium question, obviously we asked Gibbo and Lee, and we've already asked the audience there. What are your thoughts on it? Stay, go, expand? I mean, where's your head at?
As long as this club can create the same atmosphere and not lose what West Ham, Tottenham, potentially Everton going to their new stadium, as long as we keep the atmosphere, then I'm all up for moving, because it's, we're in 2025 and we've got to keep up. But don't move to something that loses what we have. Simple as that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love St James's. I love coming here. I love how it's so central and people can get here and from the city centre and stuff. But like Tel said, the atmosphere is key. You don't want it another West Ham ground where it's dead and it's soulless. And I think the fans atmosphere is what makes Newcastle United, and you don't want to lose any part of that.
Yeah, indeed. We've got time for a couple of questions from the floor, so if anybody wants to ask a question of our guest, just stick your hand up. I haven't got a mic, so you'll just have to shout it out as loud as you can. But yeah, gentleman in the front.
You both played in a very good Newcastle side, including yourselves and the teammates you played with. How many do you think would have made it to the starting 11 for the final Carabao Cup that we won there?
That's a good question.
Well, Ben Arfa plays right wing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
I think Colaccini would have got in. Colaccini would have made it would have got in at centre half. I think maybe for. I'm going to have to say for sure because Dan Bird scored the goal. So Colaccini would have been in.
Yeah, I mean, he underappreciated the thing, Colo. Colo, honestly, every day in training, he was top. You know, and you don't play for Argentina if you're not top. But yeah, it's hard. I think today's team we're blessed with a hell of a lot of talent. Don't know, Perch, would you have played right back maybe?
No, I think Trips would have just kept me out there. But I think Hatem would have been on the right wing. Colo maybe instead of Shaw. Cabs you might have. Cabs is very similar to Tonali, I think, at the minute.
Oh yeah, but I don't know if anyone else agrees with me. But I think Sandro Tonali is the best player. I honestly do. I honestly love the guy. Really, really love the guy.
See, I love Bruno.
Yeah, but everyone loves Bruno. Everyone, but I just think Sandro does all the dirty work for Bruno.
Yeah. Anybody else with a quick question? No, we don't know. Go on, jump in the back there.
Papiss just signed for Steven Taylor to Dubai.
Well, my knee's a lot worse than Papiss's. You know what? It was funny actually. He told me that he'd signed him, and the first question was, "You signed him? Talk to me about his knee," because it wasn't great. Let me be honest. But you know what? Fair play. I see him on his Instagram, and he puts all his videos up in his backyard shooting against like his mate in goal who dives the other way and all that. But do you know what? Good on him. I'm not too sure at what level Tails' team is. But and that's, I think he's made up of YouTubers and all sorts. So and do you know what? If Papiss is getting a few quid playing out in the sun, and I don't know, I don't even know how old he is. I don't think he does as well.
Well, thank you very much. Could I have the jug with the raffle tickets in? We will draw that now. So there's 6 prizes up for grabs just before we let Ryan and James head off. Thank you very much. So do you want to? So this one will be for the Kevin Keegan print, and it is number
191 to 195.
So congratulations on that one. I will come and see you. You always win. It's like it's. Yeah, that's true. Ryan, this one is for the Clive Tilsley commentary chart from the final.
241 to 245.
Again, you are having a joke.
Go on.
No, they're not even close, right? Right. The third
They're only
prize.
50 tickets apart. How much have you spent?
Third prize will be for
I'll go to the
before
bottom.
we'll say the James Perch signed match day program. Oh, someone really wants it there.
Oh no.
326 to 330.
Do we have any takers for that one? 3. Yeah, the back.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
got it.
Ryan, for your match day sign program.
46 to 50.
46 to 50, anybody? 46 to 50. There we go, Sharon. Sharon's won it.
Can we do it again?
This is for the Newcastle United mismatch print. We've got 156 to 160. Fantastic. And there's one more, which is the scarf. Go on, Aaron. This is a scarf signed by both our special guests tonight.
216 to 220.
Hey, there we go, ladies and gents. Thank you very
I'm going to
much.
start hammering you now.
Please give a huge round of applause to our special guests, Ryan Taylor and James Perch. Thank you.